It's a large-scale, professional, dedicated venue.
It's like one of the hubs of just for all ages bands to play. It's not only the biggest venue, but it's the only actual venue for all ages, and that's, to me at least, very important.
It's like this gem that we own as citizens in the city, and it should continue to be there.
All ages music is important to me because I've grown up surrounded by music my whole life. Started with my parents, of course, but started going to shows when I was a teenager through high school, and obviously most high schoolers hate school, so the Pavilion and other all ages venues around were places for me to get away from all that, to pursue my passion as a musician, to see other people doing it, see that it's very possible to do. So that's all ages music. It really shapes who I am as a person.
Without an all ages scene, you don't really have a 19+ scene, and the music scene in Halifax especially is like super awesome. So I remember like when I was a kid, maybe like 14 or 15, started going out to shows. I'd go out and, you know, I'd see these people up on stage and be like, whoa, that guy's doing a cool thing, and like everyone in the room is respecting him, and he's from the city. And so, you know, everyone has like the dreams of being a rock star or something someday. But when you go out to a show and you see like a guy that just lives down the street up there doing his thing, it gives you hope, you know, that you can actually achieve something like that. So that was the reason I started to get into music, and that's the reason I know a lot of people started to get into it. So I think that's why it's most important, because it just breeds the new generation of musicians for the city.
The younger someone is, the more receptive their brain is to new stimulus. So to have someone get involved in music for the first time at 20, 21, 19, whenever they enter a bar and start seeing music, that experience as an opportunity is way less impactful than a 14-year-old, someone in high school who doesn't know what they want to do, to see someone on stage, covered in sweat and a huge smile, with a whole room of people shouting for them. That's something that a lot of people would be intimidated by, but for the small percentage of people who want to emulate that, it's important to have that opportunity to be in that context and see that possibility of a vocation. It's not easy or simple or glamorous, but if it's attractive to someone, that could absolutely change their life. So that's just one of the reasons it's so important.
Young people are introduced to music at an early age, and I think this is a great way to get them into community involvement, and especially where you've got not just persons of that person's age, but all ages. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important.
I think all ages music is important because, I mean, it's the kids that really make the scene, mm-hmm. and it's important to build the scene locally.
Most all ages music venues where they're not serving alcohol, where anybody can go in, it's things like the back room of a consignment shop, like where we are now, which is a great venue, and it's got a low barrier of entry, which is very important for this type of scene. But it's not the most professional setup. There's no actual stage involved. You have to bring your own sound gear. The Pavilion is just like playing any big professional venue. It's just like playing a really nice bar or playing a dedicated venue in any major city. But the main difference being, though, there's no alcohol. Anybody can go in. It doesn't matter what age you are. So I think it's just the scale and the professionalism behind it.
Once again, as we breathe.
at all ages shows, pretty much everybody there is there because they want to see you play. I have very vivid memories of my first show here and just watching, like, previous to this, I didn't know how well these bands were known in the local scene, but I just remember people, like, fans just going up to the front of the crowd and just singing along with this band that I thought was so small and so local. Like, I saw Old Blood play. I had seen Old Blood play for the first time when I was like 13 at a music camp that they played at, just as sort of a demonstration. And then they went and played the Pavilion. I was like, yes, I can finally see these guys again. Like, after this many years of listening to their album all the time and not getting to see them live because they were always playing bars. So that was a huge one for me. I was like, this is what the Pavilion's for.
First time I went to the Pavilion, I was 15 years old. I went to see Protest the Hero. So I was back in high school. And it was just an amazing experience. It was something I didn't know existed in Halifax at the time. And ever since then, they've had so many great shows, a place for people to hang out, to be themselves, and that's what I value about it. It lets people be who they want to be, get away from their normal life.
So I remember distinctly, I still call it one of the best shows I've ever been to, was when the Black Dahlia Murder came to the Pavilion for the Ritual tour. And they were with like a couple of other great bands, and you get up there, you get right up close in front of these bands, like this specific band I had been listening to for many years at that point, and all of the band members that I respected and idolized were standing right in front of me. Their singer held out his microphone and let me sing on a couple of songs, and afterwards they were all hanging out outside, so you just got to go and meet them and talk to them, these people that you previously thought to be untouchable. And it really puts, the whole humanity aspect into perspective.
All right, let's get moving in here, guys. You right there, get moving.
The Pavilion is massively important for all ages shows because it's where most people went to their first all ages show. A lot of people spent their formative years at the Pavilion seeing many bands play. It became a culture in Halifax for a while.
That's the one thing I have had the experience of is now like 8 years of listening to shows out front, and I've heard the good, the bad, and the ugly. But the one thing I love more than anything else is the just almost palatable enthusiasm.
There's nothing like a Pavilion show. I've been to a lot of different shows in different cities and in Halifax, and the Pavilion's crowd, when everyone is there and everyone is into the show, it's pretty unrivaled, because you go there and, it sort of strikes me as a scene that is just they're hungry. They're hungry for that kind of energy, and they're hungry for these great bands to, you know, be out giving it their all and to have a reason to let out all this crazy energy. And I don't really feel like there are a lot of places that have that kind of desperate, in a way, not in a bad way, but desperate scene that just wants good music.
I remember when I first started coming to like the Pavilion, Plan B, it was always like a full room, always. Now lately it's like you really got to push to get that, you know, sellout show and, you know, with lots of people. I think one of the reasons behind it might be that, well, the Pavilion closed down for a couple years, and which kind of, they stopped bringing in bigger bands from out of province and stuff, meaning that there wasn't as much appeal for people to go see the smaller bands because, you know, you just open for the bigger bands and then people would be there to see you.
For 2 years, the Pavilion was shut down just due to lack of funding before some people could bring it back due to some pretty heavy fundraising and through a lot of dedication. During that time, pretty much all the shows happened here at Plan B. There was some stuff at Radstorm, there's the occasional show at Bus Stop Theater, but yeah, it was basically just forced to smaller, more underground venues in, you know, parts of the town that aren't necessarily as nice as the Commons. The Commons Master Plan Committee has some other plans to basically put in a new building that will serve as an all-around like recreational arts center for Halifax's youth, or the HRM's youth. So it's basically looking like it's going to be torn down and then sort of built anew into something that's a bit more accessible for everyone involved. I'd say as long as the people who sit on the board in the Pavilion are doing what they've been doing and, you know, pushing to always have bands playing there, you know, pushing to always be putting on shows, that's what's been keeping the Pavilion alive, is people dedicated enough to, you know, take time out of their personal lives and actually go and just make sure that there's still stuff happening there.
It was fantastic. It was amazing. I love going to the Pavilion all the time. All ages stuff is so much fun, and the show was no exception. It was high energy, it was intense, it was so much fun. I'm sweating, it's so much fun. I'm a Green Day fan, so She at the end was it was a pretty good way to end off the night. All the bands were great though, I gotta admit.
You know, young people like music, so we just gotta have all ages music places.
For sure. Did you have a favorite part of the show at all?
I really liked when they played the Making My Way Downtown song. I don't know the name of it though.
Yeah.
I just only know the chorus.
Classic though.
Amazing, definitely. All the bands that played are just great, phenomenal. They're, you know, local musicians just trying to get their names out there, and I think this is the best way to do it.
Totally. Did you have a favorite part?
Definitely when Shabukto played the Friends theme song and also 1,000 Miles.
Yeah.
Just the way that they cover it and just do it however they want, I think it's really interesting.
Awesome. So do you come to the Pavilion often, or are you like?
As often as I can.
Cool.
I try to, you know, get out and show support for local music, show all these guys that just because you're playing in Halifax, you know, it's Nova Scotia, doesn't mean that it's not, you know, an impact on someone's life.
I thought the show was really good. It's really nice being able to see music like this around here. I don't know, all around, it was just the energy of the room was really nice. Yeah.
Do you come to the Pavilion often?
No, I've actually never been.
Okay, so this is your first time
Yeah,
being here?
yeah.
So what was your first impression of the Pavilion?
It looked pretty small from the outside, but once I got inside, I don't know, it was pretty nice having everybody all together, you know. It's
Do you
not.
think you'll come back?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right now, it's obviously in a really dark time because it's closing soon, sadly, and I hope that definitely when it is tore down, I hope we get a suitable replacement. I hope the scene is stronger after the fact, because I hope if we get a suitable replacement, we use this to our advantage to make for a better community in music.
As musicians, as fans, it's the hub for people to go in Halifax. It's a home, it's a community, it's family. Without that, people would probably be a lot less happiness in the all ages music scene, of course.
The new pavilion, when it's rebuilt, I believe should have, it doesn't need to be like a giant building, but it should easily be convertible for all kinds of things like workshops and rehearsal areas and stuff like that. Music is an island, so I think having could really grow a vital scene where people feel really invested by having a proper facility. The pavilion that's now is, you know, it does the job, but as an expression of what we value as a city and as a system, I believe that when they rebuild the pavilion, it should be in the exact same spot. There's historic precedent for that, and it's like this hub for the whole county. The way that things traditionally work is, for my community, is this system will do things, spend a whole lot of money, and get it wrong. And then we spend years trying to get things fixed afterwards. So my concern with this is if they head off to the races and have this thing designed and built before a consultation with someone who will be an end user, that we're going to end up with something stupid like a bunch of steps here and a ramp over here, when really all we need is a ramp or ground level access. So my intention is to get somehow involved in even just being a resource to bounce ideas off of, because architects are not in chairs. I can't know the experience of somebody with whatever difference from me. So there's no way they're going to know, you know, the practical needs of somebody in a wheelchair other than theoretically. So I'm really hoping they will take input from the community on this. Kids should still be able to have these kinds of venues. And also they should be able to go play with their friends or in front of their friends, you know, battles of the bands, you know, things like that. Like, that's all good, healthy competition, and grows a scene. So I see the pavilion as getting bigger and getting better.